switch off your mic during the talk to avoid interferences. Post your questions or comments in chat box. If time allows, we will try to address all those queries. Now I invite Professor C. Nirmala, the coordinator of DST Center for Policy Research at Punjab University Chandigarh, to give the welcoming remark to our worthy Vice Chancellor Professor Rajkumar, keynote speaker Professor Anuradha Ganesh, and the participants. Ma'am, the platform is yours.
Okay. Thank you, Mamta. A very good morning to all. Honorable Vice Chancellor, Professor Rajkumar ji, our esteemed speaker, Professor Anuradha Ganesh, Director and Chief Technical Advisor, Current Technologies, India Private Limited, Pune, and Adjunct Professor, IIT Bombay, Mumbai, and Professor Amrit Toor, Chairperson of SS Bhatnagar University Institute of Chemical Engineering and Technology, faculty members, scientists, researchers, students, and ladies and gentlemen. It is indeed a great pleasure for me to welcome you all on behalf of DST Center for Policy Research, Punjab University, Chandigarh. This center is one of the 4 centers established in India in 2014 by the Ministry of Science and Technology, and the centers work on particular mandates, and one of our mandates is to develop a public-private partnership of R&D, and it is also very important because these public-private partnerships lead to innovations, which is the driving force of economy in the country. And the topic which scope and relevance of industry-led public-private partnership in R&D for R&D in India to be delivered by Professor Anuradha is of great importance, and we are very happy also. It is a proud moment for Punjab University because Professor Anuradha is an alumnus of SS Bhatnagar Chemical Engineering and Technology, and she is very successful and has won many national and international awards. Thank you, Professor Anuradha, for sparing up your valuable time to be here with us and also deliberate highlight the present scenario of PPP in R&D in India. So, and now I would like invite our Honorable Vice Chancellor to give the introductory remarks. Professor Rajkumar.
Thank you, madam.
Sir,
thank you.
Sir.
Thank you. Thank you very much for organizing such a really very pertinent subject webinar on the scope and relevance of the industry led PPP or R&D in India. Very esteemed Professor Anuradha Ganesh ji, Director and the Chief Technical Advisor, CTIPL, and Adjunct Faculty, IIT Mumbai. It is a matter of great pride, particularly for the Punjab University fraternity. She has been the alumnus of our university. So, madam, welcome to your home.
और
आपने जो है समय निकाला हमारे यूनिवर्सिटी के लिए, बहुत अच्छा लगा जो है, और आप हमारी यूनिवर्सिटी में आते रहिए, लोग इन लोगों को जो है बताइए किस तरह से और हम लोग अच्छा काम कर सकते हैं. And because I am very positive as well as very proactive in regards to this policy research center. So since you have associated with such a prestigious institutions, then you just try to think in terms of the new initiation that on which our center can move on, and also suggest what are the other departments or the faculty to whom we can connect for the further improvement, further development, further and fast development of the Policy Research Center. Our Policy Research Center, you might be knowing, is one of the very vibrant research center in India, and we have a lot of initiation on the part of this the center. But we are looking at the some expert like you to give the areas where we can move on the fast pace. Yes, the topic that you have taken is important in the sense we must think of on the PPP model because everything is moving on that direction very fast. But being the government organization, we have a little bit of hesitant on the part of collaborating with the private enterprises or private entities. But I'm very open. I'm very pro on that way because now this is the age of pooling the resources, and the government cannot support to after a you can say after a limit. So for that purpose, we have to look at the private sector, corporate sector, or the other sector from whom we can get the physical as well as the monetary resources. So this webinar is very important on that means direction. And what I'm FDO's बात कर लीजिए on means moving towards the PPP model. Again, a lot of formalities we have to observe. And being the government organization, many times people get frustrated. It's not possible because a lot of barriers are there. And in the university system, again, it is very difficult. IIT system is entirely different. But in university, they are so conventional and so say rigid in expanding their horizon. But even then, I want to make new opening for the PPP, and the person like the Radha certainly will come out and give you important input pertaining to the PPP model. Yes, R&D is a very important. Yes, when I visited the South Florida University, from that day when I just saw the task performed by the director R&D, then that is in my mind. Very very shortly we will come out with a very mega project, and that will be entirely focused on the R&D activities, because R&D we cannot move fast. Number one, we cannot link in a confident way. And last but not the least, yes, try to have the strong binding with the industry. अब आई डोंट नो कि निर्मला जी कितना जो है इंडस्ट्री के लोगों को इसमें बुलाई होगी. आई एम श्योर कि कोई नहीं होगा शायद. कि हम लोगों के एकेडमिशियन की सबसे बड़ी जो है वीकनेस यही होती है कि कोई हम लोग जो है ऑर्गेनाइजेशन इस तरह से करते हैं तो कम से कम ज़्यादा से ज़्यादा लोगों को या रिलेवेंट लोगों को आप इकट्ठा करिए, तभी चीज़ें जो है प्रैक्टिकल या वो जो है एक फास्ट पेस पर मूव करेंगी. इंडस्ट्री को लोगों को आपको जरूर बुलाना चाहिए इसमें. अगर नहीं बुलाई हैं तो अभी भी आप कर सकती हैं. बट देयर इज द प्रोफेसर मनु शर्मा, ही इज फ्रॉम द इंडस्ट्री. Again, although he is the professor of the mechanical engineering, but he will certainly give you some input pertaining to the industry, because the requirement of the industry you have to understand first, then the research, then you can think of the investment and all those things. The thing is that we just by any means we just collect the requirement, and thereafter on the easy way we decided the area and we start the research work. But ultimately, what are the prototype that you have developed? How for the practicals, for the academic purpose, it's okay. अब जो आपको पेपर आप छाप लेंगे, आप किताब निकाल लेंगे, आप ये सब चीजें कर लेंगे. एक प्रोटोटाइप है, लेगा कौन हो, उसका जो है कमर्शियलाइजेशन कैसे होगा, वो जो है कैसे हम सोसाइटी तक जाएगा, कि वो वाकई में इट इज द रिक्वायरमेंट ऑफ द सोसाइटी और इट में बी सेलेबल. पैसा लगाएगी तभी, तब जब इंडस्ट्री पैसा लगाएगी देन इट विल कम इन द प्रोडक्शन चैनल, और ऑटोमेटिकली वो जो है फिर जो नीडी जो पीपल है उसके पास जाएगा, और ऐसे फिर आपका रिसर्च वो चल निकलेगा. हम लोग, आई एम नॉट डिस्करेजिंग एनीवन, you just do the basic research or whatever you are doing at the academic purpose, but कुछ ऐसा पेटेंट हो और जो कमर्शलाइज फॉर्म में जाए, जो एंड यूजर उसका जो है उसको फायदा मिले. हमारे डायरेक्शन पर बहुत जल्दी, क्योंकि अब वो समय चला गया कि जबकि जो है आप बहुत अच्छे रिसर्च करते थे, हाई और हाई अब आपके इम्पैक्ट फैक्टर वाली बात होती थी, और वो सब चीजें लोग अप्रिशिएट करते थे. लेकिन जैसे ही आप एक काम करते हैं तो तुरंत ये बात आ जाती है, फॉर हुम, किसको जरूरत है, क्या किसी इंडस्ट्री ने उससे आपसे कांटेक्ट किया है कि हम ये प्रोडक्ट आपका लेंगे या आपकी ये टेक्नोलॉजी लेंगे. अगर नहीं लेंगे तो इट विल हैव ए वेरी शॉर्ट पीरियड ऑफ लाइफ. वो जो है 2 साल रहेगा, 4 साल रहेगा, इसके बाद जो है किताब के पन्नों में चला जाएगा कि मिस्टर एक्स या मिसेज एक्स या जो भी वट एवर यू कैन, कि कोई आपने प्रोटोटाइप डेवलप किया था या कोई आपने टेक्नोलॉजी ले आया था, आपके नाम से रह गया. That will be the only for the purpose of the references. So in that way, in a very general way, I just put these things. But in nutshell, I am very focused. The policy research must identify certain areas where we can move for the R&D activities, number one, and how for an R&D purposes, how you can connect the industry. That is the main thing. पॉलिसी जो आपकी बन रही है वो कहाँ तक इम्प्लीमेंट होगी, कैसे इम्प्लीमेंट होगी, और उसका फायदा किसको होगा. जब तक आप इसको रीडिफाइन नहीं करेंगे, यहाँ पर जितने लोग बैठे हैं, तब तक यकीन मानिए ये सारी चीजें केवल एकेडमिक पर्पस के लिए होंगी. सारे लोग इकट्ठा होंगे, 70-72 लोग काम करके उसके बाद जो है वो खत्म. नो, आई वांट टू सी द थिंग्स ऑफ एवरलास्टिंग. आप ऐसा चीज बताइए कि ऐसी बात के बारे में चर्चा करिए जो कि आगे तक उसके बारे में बात हो, लोग उसके बारे में फिर फर्दर रिसर्च करें. समाज का जो कोई न कोई तबका जो है उससे प्रभावित होना चाहिए, उसको लाभ मिलना चाहिए, तब वो रिसर्च जो है यूजफुल होगा. ठीक है. तो वंस अगेन आई अप्रिशिएट कि यू हैव टेकन ए वेरी गुड इनिशिएटिव, particularly the partnership and the focusing on the R&D. Certainly. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir, for sparing time for us and share your thoughts. Now, I would like to invite Professor Manu Sharma, Coordinator, Technology Enabling Center and Honorary Director, CIPP at Punjab University, Chandigarh, to share his thoughts on technology development and transfer in Punjab University, Chandigarh. Over to you, sir.
Honorable Vice Chancellor, sir, Professor Rajkumar ji, Professor Anuradha Ganesh, and other dignitaries. It's a matter of great pleasure that today we are discussing about industry academia interactions and how research can be guided in that direction. At Punjab University, we have 2 centers. One is Center for Industry Institute Partnership Program, and another is Technology Enabling Center. Through these 2 bodies, we are very focused so as to innovate on the requirements, technical issues of the industry. So what our experience has been over a couple of months has been that when we approach industry, then most of the time the real issues are not shared with the academia. Some issues are shared which are, as a matter of fact, not the requirements of the industry. And we tend to then start working on those issues. And after working on those issues, we find that industry is no more interested, probably because they did not share actually the things on which they are, interested. So we would like to understand this part from our honorable expert today. And second issue which I have been seeing in our center is most of the time timelines of the projects, they are not probably that imagined or visualized so nicely by the investigators that we sometimes tend to falter on the timelines. That is one thing. And then another, I feel that I have gone through all the MOUs and I have observed that probably we have not done the pricing also nicely. So pricing is another aspect which I feel, and I talked to a couple of investigators and I talked to them that have you given your technology at a price with which you are happy? So what I observed that most of the investigators, they are saying that probably they have not got the right price for the technology which they have transferred. So I would like to also get some guidance on that aspect also. And what I feel is that when the interaction between industry and academia happens, it should be more structured in the manner that industry should share the issues on which the capability is not there in the industry, on the issues on which industry looks outside support, on which we can be a complementary team. Now, how to realize this aspect also? So on this also, I would like to get some guidance from our honorable expert today. So I'm not taking much time. Welcome, Professor Anuradha Ganesh. And that's all from my side. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, thanks a lot, sir, for putting forward the issues being faced in PU in technology transfer. Before we move to our next session, I take the opportunity to introduce our keynote speaker, Professor Anuradha Ganesh. Professor Anuradha Ganesh is the Director and Chief Advisor to India CTO at Cummins India. She advises on the future technology trends, future regulatory policies, and R&D and innovation policies, and helps Cummins to build strategic technology and product pipelines. She also advises on university and government collaboration areas and strategic partnerships. She is currently serving in various national level committees representing Cummins as subject matter expert. With a PhD in chemical engineering, she brings in a unique combination of excellence in academia as well as industry. Prior to joining Cummins, she was heading the Department of Energy, Science and Engineering and was a professor at IIT Bombay for 25 years. She has contributed to the intellectual property with over 60 journal publications with over 2,000 citations and granted patents. Professor Anuradha also has established the Center for Research and Intellectual Entrepreneurship at Cummins College of Engineering for Women, wherein the objective is to inculcate research, innovation, and entrepreneurship skills to faculty as well as women engineers in the making. She was conferred with the Best Women Achiever for Excellence in Area of Expertise for the year 2012 by the Women's Pilot Association. Amongst other achievements, ma'am has recently been elected as Fellow of the Indian National Academy of Engineering for this year. Thank you, and over to you, ma'am.
Thank you so much. So, all right. I heard a lot of things and I'll be very happy to talk about them. I don't think I can give you a direct answer for any of your questions, Dr. Sharma, but I will definitely try and address them. All that I'm going to speak is based on my experience of being on the faculty, being a faculty at IIT, doing a lot of applied research, working with industry, and working at the industry when I was in the academia, and through which I managed to shift to the industry, and how I look at the industry thought process now. And I also work for CII now and the other industry bodies. So I have tried to understand the gaps. I haven't been able to get clear solutions for them, but I can definitely pose the issues from the other side. And in fact, that's how I got to know Radhika when we were discussing all this in the during the STIP process. I think none of the questions were really answered, but we have tried to address this even in the upcoming policy. So you'll pardon me if you feel that Anuradha is not giving you a direct answer, but we will discuss this, and I'm happy to connect with you separately also on this. First of all, a very big thank you, Nirmala, for, it's okay if I call you Nirmala, right? I'm not very formal. Is that okay?
Ma'am, this I'll be happy.
Thank you. So I call people by first name, and that's a corporate. Till I was in IIT, I would not do it. But once you go to the corporate, you learn to do that. And I think that's really very good. So the hierarchy is lost. Thank you so much, Nirmala, for inviting me to be a part of the advisory council. And that in turn, brought me to talk to my alma mater and be here of any use and actually connect with you all. What feeling it gives, I cannot describe in words. It feels amazing, really. I do come to Chandigarh once in a while. I do meet my hostel mates. I do go and meet my friends, not necessarily my classmates, but my seniors and my juniors who are there in Chandigarh. I do meet them and I'm in touch with them. But I've never come to the department after that because there was really no one whom I could connect to. I think I came initially when our professors were still there, who had not retired. So I'll be happy to come. Having said this,
you're most welcome.
Thank you so much. Having said that, let me give you my thought process on the scope and relevance of industry-led PPP in India. And I am added the word led because I think it's time that we understand that there are projects of different kinds and we are able to identify them and learn certain things from what is happening around the globe. So I am currently the Chief Technical Advisor for Cummins Technologies, and I go once a week to IIT in the Center of Policy Studies. So I'll be very happy to work with you folks here. All right, so let me start with some basics, and it's not a very deep-rooted presentation, but I'm just thoughts that I have brought together. So let's look at knowledge creation and the transfer ecosystem, which Rajkumarji talked about today. So we do understand, and we are all universities, so we know universities are the hub of research and innovation around the world. But there are two specific roles that the university plays. One is the knowledge creation, and the other is the knowledge transfer. And as far as knowledge creation goes, I've put it in green because we know we are very good at it. I put the knowledge transfer in red because that's our issue and that's what we've been flagging. In fact, all the talks before me flagged this knowledge transfer. So we have excellent capability and we have excellent technical expertise, be it IITs or universities or NITs or even private institutes. We have very good technical expertise. We have very good institutional support, which is critical, and it's a part of the overall ecosystem. The first part is the university, the last part is the enterprise. So we have a very good institutional support as far as the research is concerned. We know that we have to have, the last bit, that's the knowledge transfer. That's the last part of the ecosystem. Unfortunately, that is not happening. And many times the reason is the knowledge is created without any consultation to the enterprises. And Dr. Sharma will ask me now, that's what we tried to do. We went to the enterprises and they didn't give us the right direction. I'll try to answer this question after some time. Okay. So when we say knowledge transfer, what we mean? When a knowledge is created without consultation, the mechanism of knowledge transfer becomes very, very difficult, and the scope becomes very limited. And this is not just between a university and a enterprise. It is between a university and university also. You do not have single discipline products anymore. It's very important to have a cross-disciplinary cross expertise, multi expertise requirements. And if that is not there, that itself is so difficult. So I would like you to ask a question to yourself first, and how many interdisciplinary collaborations are happening? I think that's the first step. Okay. And there are a few issues which get arisen. As university work on the same issues in isolation without consulting and collaboration with one another, that synergic effects, which can really be very helpful, impedes the flow of the knowledge and ideas. So that's one thing. And then this is a common statement. I am not sure whether I fully agree with it, but I still wrote it, that our education system has a lack of industry orientation. And it's not because we don't want to do it. It's because we are packed. Where is the time? Even to give a 6-month, practical training, 6-month internship in an industry, it's so difficult. We have, if it's engineering, in 3.5 years, I need to bring everything. Okay, if it is physics or chemistry or something, where do I send that person? How does that person complete MSc or PhD? Do we have so much time? So something is wrong in our education system, which now the new education policy has sort of catered to. Okay, so that's one of the reasons why the industry is not comfortable with the academia. Having said this, let's look at what's the government's role. Right. So I'm sure you're aware of what is the technology readiness levels, TR levels, for anything which is developed. So I'll quickly go through what I've shown in the in here. So this is called as technology readiness levels, originally developed by NASA, and then European Commission did some changes in the definitions, but this is what is finally accepted. So the TRL level 0 is when you get an idea and it's an unproven concept, no testing has been done. Then we do something called as, okay, now we have an idea, let's do some basic research. We postulate some principles around it, but we have still not done any experimental proof. Then comes the proof of concept. But even before the proof of concept, now I need to formulate a technology for it. So concept and application has been formulated. Then comes the applied research. So first laboratory tests are completed and the proof of concept is done, followed by a small scale prototype built in the laboratory, which is that ugly one, jo lab mein hota hai, that sort of a thing. So if you've seen, I have highlighted in light green 3, 4. Okay, and then comes slowly the large scale prototype. That's an interface. I have put both green and the light green and the dark green. And then we have now that large scale prototype, just to show that, okay, in the intended environment, it is tested. Then we go to a prototype system, which is now expected performance, because that is what is going to define whether it can finally be commercialized or not. If the prototype system at TR level 6 is developed, then we can go into a demonstration where the operational, then we do regulations, comply kar rahe hain kya, whether it is reliable, all that sort of, that's all the pre-commercial scale. If it passes that, then comes the first alpha system, where we have a manufacturing issues. How do you manufacture it? Whether we'll get consistency, reliability, all that. Can we make it sustainable? All that comes into picture, and then it goes into, now the technology is ready to be commercialized. This is the entire process. So just look, it's a basic logic which says, fine, 0, 1, 2, 3. These are very, very basic fundamental blue sky research. 3, 4, 5 is something. 3 and 4 is where now I am trying to say, okay, does this concept work? And I'm saying, let me build a small one to see whether it works. And what do you expect the industry to do at that time? The industry will only observe, right? Maximum, it might say, okay, I can sponsor the project for the student. It will only watch from far, because the industry does not have resources or capability to put in, nor does it know whether it's even going to be useful to them or not. And anyway, and especially if you have not asked them before, In fact, most of the time we don't even call people at this time. Then comes the prototype. Once this prototype is there, then is when you call the industry and say, this is what I've built. I think it's going to be useful for you, so you take it. But the industry doesn't want it. Simple. The industry probably, if you had brought them at the at least showcased them. Let me be very careful. Showcased them at technology, at TR level 2, then they would say, okay, this is fine. Where can you use it? And then you have a brainstorming session. You say, I can use it here, here, here. The other industry, now there are different type of industries. Say you are developing a material. There is an automotive industry. There is a processing industry. There is a filtration industry. Each one of them look at it in a different way with a different application. So maybe you can take some inputs and then go further on it. All right. All right. So, and then comes prototyping. Yes, large scale prototyping and prototype system, you can't do it because you don't have that environment. You don't know you need the industrial experience to do that, right? That's what they are doing day in and day out. That expertise is to protect. So it's very clear from this that there are a few TR levels which only academia can do, few which both are required in different, progressively different levels, and few which only industry can do. Once you recognize this, I just listed down a few things in a much more so that it's systematic. So the first, what is its role? Now let's look at what is government doing. Government funds and encourages blue sky research at the universities and funds capability development. Right? All your sponsorships, they give you so many scholarships of MTechs, money scholarships for PhDs, etc. Then they fund the proof of concept to help identify applications. So you send them, I want to develop this and empirical relation, even a simple thing like heat transfer coefficient, you say, okay, this is a good new material, you want to test it, all that, they will help you do. However, what we don't do is, do we go and share this knowledge in the conferences, and which conference? What happens is, we go to a heat transfer conference, and what do we do there? We are very happy presenting the paper, over, full stop. Do we sit and we network to discuss where and who all are doing it and where all it can be applied? We don't talk to people. Even when we are listening to others, we are listening on, is my paper better than the other person? And that is the truth. Okay. Then comes TR level 3. That is again to be funded by the government. However, this is a place where now industry can be introduced and showcased by conferences, discussions. Okay. And now here again, Sharma ji, I feel industrial journals for academicians is a must. Okay, we tend to do a lot of Science Direct and Elsevier publications, but it's a very important thing to read Chemical Weekly or Society of Automotive Engineering, Mobility Engineering, or anything like that, because there they give a different perspective. The faculty has to know which industry to go, what to tell. If you have developed something on nuclear boiling and you go and tell a battery, you go and tell a vehicle manufacturer that in IC engines, now the efficiency can be improved by using nuclear boiling. He might not be interested today because he's already IC engines is a big problem for him, right? Maybe he's thinking of changing. But a new person, a battery management system, thermal management of batteries is a big issue. But you will say that maybe it can be used. So you have to start talking in various conferences, start putting up. So conferences are not just for developing confidence. It is for people to expose the research that you are doing. Then comes tier 4, where a little, expression of interest from the industry is required, where small scale prototype will develop, that UAY project type, not impact, but the imprint, but the UAY project types, Uchatar Avishkar Yojana types, where, patent can be filed. Now the industry has a choice. You want to still wait and watch, or you want the first right on the patent. If he was involved in TRL 3, then in TRL 4, the industry would be ready to decide, because slowly he started realizing it can be used or not. Now here again, let me tell you one. Don't get disheartened when you go and talk to the industry and they are not ready. Because there are only a few industries who are actually wanting research. Half of them want frugal innovation. And that is why the timelines are a problem. They don't want research because our industries are still not ready to put in money in research. That is going to happen. That is happening. All right. So we are both evolving at the same time. And that's where the government has to say, okay, I will de-risk it for you. So you put only 10% or 5%. Oh, lagane ko taiyar hai. Then the government now funds progressively. Abhi wo large scale prototype, why should government will put a little less than what it used to put for the TRL level 4. Okay. And because now the expression of interest was there. Now the industry is, however, the statement that the government gives, let me tell you, now industry should take over. No, the industry will not take over because our industry is not doing research. Please remember, our industry is still waiting to just get the technology because they don't have time. They are, I'll tell you what happens. The budget for the next year is decided this year. Okay. How do you expect to go in between and say, now I have developed it, give money? He will say, I'll give you money only in the year later. We are not ready for it. Right? What will you do for 1 year? So there is lot of planning, lot of synergy, connectivity, overlap, which is required to be handled. And government has to fund for de-risking. Why would he, especially when we are talking about technology integration or big, just say a fuel cell hai. If NCL has made a fuel cell and if you want an industry to take it up, you want to set up a big project. Why would the industry put in all the money? Because you don't know whether it will work or not, right? Your academician cannot give 100% guarantee because he has only developed the philosophy is good, the technology is good, but it is not yet proven in the real environment. We don't know whether it will give us expected performance and reliability. Therefore, if it's a question of 100 crores or 50, 60 crore project to make that, why would the industry put? The industry would want government to help in de-risking the investment of the industry. I hope, I'm so far clear in what I'm trying to say. Any questions till now?
So Dr. Ganesh, we are having questions in our chat box. So you would like to take it right now or we can take it at the
end? Yeah, I'll take it in the end. Actually, I had planned something, but based on the questions, I'm going to stop at some place and I'll take the questions then. So this is exactly what I said. This is the valley of death, as you call it. You do research, you do development. There is something as a technology transfer which we require. All right, it might be not fully transferred, but partial. And then we have a product launch. But then this is where before commercialization, the industry might not find it performing to that level. Okay, because there is a funding gap. You see, that's what always happens. What is more important is to keep your competition in the market. Yes, you need to bring in a new product, but how sure? If there was something which is done here, then it picks up, right? So it is this area which is the most difficult thing to do. And that's where we always lose. And so what can a private-public partnership do for us? It helps create a collaborative environment to maximize, as I told you, cross-disciplinary expertise from government, academia, and industry researchers, all three. The main prior condition which would be required is that the partnership should be for common objectives, mutual benefits, and complementary of human and financial resources. Our major issue is we never look at mutual benefits. You go and talk, how does academician talk to the industry? He says, "Ye maine kiya hai, this is very good, and you tell us how much you will give me for the IP." Right? The industry will say, "You are saying it, okay, it might be useful to me, but now, I have to develop it. There is a risk. There is no guarantee. Why should I pay you so much?" Okay, so people are not talking about mutual benefit, but actually talking about mutual risks. Okay, it's very important to understand that. It is the way we handle it. Are we partnering or are we doing business? Let's be very sure. If you do partnering, then things will work. All right. And then there are other motivations like you optimize the resources by sharing cost and risk, as I said. Then you capitalize on the respective strengths. Then you internalize the knowledge spillovers, which is coming from various sectors. Okay. And then you secure a high quality contribution from the private sector, which is very important. The government now knows that the private sector is putting in money, little money, say, but it's putting in money, and therefore we'll get a high quality contributions, and you have to respect that because their timelines, the way they work, everything has to be systematic, documented. Neither is in academia used to it, nor is the government used to it. Okay, and and it's a mission oriented R&D. They know what all has to be tested. Unless there is no chalta hai, because they have to sell, na. Tomorrow, if their customer comes and says ki ye to beech mein kharab ho gaya, maintenance warranty is they who are giving, you are not giving it. So you have to accept all those so-called high quality contribution. I would put it as condition. Okay. Also, now let me look at what is in it for us to go. The government, it helps in research and policy more responsive to the changing nature of innovation. For the government, it's also an attractive tool to address both the market and the coordination failures. This is something which is happening in the country. Research and innovation activities, and leverage some investment from STI. And at the same time, those big projects, climate change project, green growth, energy efficiency, like carbon sequestration, which industry is going to put it? Unless there is no government push from there, the government de-risking from there, no one is going to do CCS. However, if CCS is proved, carbon dioxide capture and sequestration, if that is proved, which is a very expensive technology to prove, मतलब आप सोचिए स्टील इंडस्ट्री में या सीमेंट इंडस्ट्री में आपको कार्बन सेक्वेस्ट्रेशन लगाना है, it will be very expensive. But unless government does not demonstrate that, it cannot be taken by the industry as a business, right? And for business, what is it in it for business? It can help public research solve problems, develop new markets, generate new value through cooperation and co-production. I'm going to skip this. I was giving you some examples. This is a very typical Fraunhofer Institute model. And I think this is by far one of the best representations I have seen, where we have Academia Research Institute, which does idea, research, and benchtop. Somewhere here, there are special institutes which come in, which India does not have yet. Or the nearest to it is, say, incubation parks or those research parks, nearest to that. So some government funding can come here. And then we have benchtop and the technology development scale up. And this is the place where the industry or the startups or the venture capitalists come in. Then you manufacture and refinement. And you see this, the risk goes down slowly and the cost goes up. That is why. So as the cost of development is going up in these stages, okay, we have to ensure that we put in money so that the risk is going down. Otherwise, it's very difficult. So at the point where my cost is high, my risk is slowly getting lower and lower because now I've already reached benchtop prototypes. So the risk in terms of technology is going down. Now some proof has happened. More proof is going to be there and cost is going to be higher. Having said this, I'm going to only talk about one example, which happens. This is a technology integration project, which I wanted to show you. I'll tell you one, I think I wrote it here, did I? No. So let me also tell you there's one very big advantage of a PPP projects. These climate change, these energy efficiency projects which are there. Now, these regulations which are coming in, BS6 engines have come now, you know it. BS4 आया, फिर BS6 आया, trucks के emissions अभी आपको कम दिखता है ना roads में. So how does one decide 0.004 NOx grams per kilowatt hour, 0.03, the efficiency should be 30%, 38%, 40%. How do you decide? Okay. So there are technologies which will waste heat recovery aa gaya, ya tire improvement aa gaya. So now a vehicle is an integration of all that, right? Now you can do it in different ways, but the government wants to set a goal. It says now BS7 May, I want only so much CO2 to be reduced. How do you decide that? How government cannot suddenly think of some value? So they have to give big projects, integration projects like PPP, industry-led projects, because these projects cannot be done by the academia, where the interaction, government has an interaction with industry, academia, both, with which we say, okay, let us do these projects. What are the main areas? Like, should we do it for truck? Should we do it for rail? Maybe in pharma sector, maybe in cement sector. That can be decided by the interactions, and there's a list of projects. Then they also together discuss deliverable targets, because there are some predictions and modeling, simulation and modeling, which is done by the industry and by the academia together. When I say together, they don't necessarily need to do it together. They have some values, academia has some values, it has to match. Academia can give a thermodynamic limit, but industry will give a practical limit. So practical targets can be set. Then they have an estimate of the project cost, and then a budgetary estimate. Based on this, government department takes an internal allocation, and it's call for proposals. In the call for proposals, different industry consortia in government, industry consortia can come in. So the industry could have, it could be for 1 consortia, 2 consortia, 3 consortia. The industry can have various academic partners. For example, if the industry says, I want to do some tire, different type of tire, okay, and I'm going to put an engine with a waste heat recovery, I'm going to change the aerofoil structure. So there academics can help, because infrastructure is available, capability is available, and we have different groups. So for example, Punjab University is working with, say, Cummins, and I have Mahindra and Mahindra going to, say, Punjab Engineering College. Like that, I can have different consortia groups. And then there is a proposal. There is, of course, a complete review process, and say 2 or 3 of them are given the proposal. That way, industry is leading, because now these technologies are not basic research. Remember that. They are integration, and that is required. So you want now a truck or a bus which will give you 55% efficiency or so much mileage. Okay, now वो mileage एक company से नहीं आएगा और एक academic institute से नहीं आएगा. It has to be a consortium, and it has to be industry led, because it is costing so much. 50% government gives, and another 50% the industry gives in terms of resources, and there are different ways of doing it. The principal investigator manages the fund, which is the industry, and it only gets reimbursement. The government doesn't need to worry that I give the money and it will be used up somewhere. It's only reimbursement always based on expenditure, and the industry contributes manpower, consumables, contingencies, etc., etc. I don't want to go into so much detail, and I don't want to go through the examples also. If you want, I can, but let me give you the conclusions based on what I have learned. If we want to have indigenous technology and adhere to Make in India and Atmanirbhar Bharat, industry must be taken as partners in research and technology development. That's clear policy. We have to be careful. Industry should not be asked. Industry should be partnered with. Government must de-risk some large projects requiring high investments. When I say high investments, I'm talking about 100 crores and all. You can't just say methanol को मुझे प्रूव करना है तो आप कमिंस को बोला रेल का इंजन चेंज कर दो. It takes $100 crore rupees to do it. I mean dollars to do it. I can't do it. Right. So wherever major regulations have to come for ensuring appropriate stringent ones, that is where PPP is required. Levels of government participation will depend on the extent of risk. So everywhere it doesn't need to be PPP. Everywhere it doesn't need to be PPP. And even if it is PPP, only big projects can be industry led. Only that commercialization aspect, second, TR 7, 8, 9 should be industry led. The others can be depending on what is the risk. So it is not a single solution for all.
Yeah, thank you so much, ma'am, for such an elaborated and informative presentation. I'm sure our participants have got great insights about the topic from this presentation, and it was really very knowledgeable, especially on TRL levels, industry-institution linkages, expectation from industry, from the government, and government interventions required to promote technology and R&D ecosystem in India. Thanks a ton, ma'am.
Plan.
Yeah.
So without wasting much of time, I just pass the floor to Professor Toor for her concluding remarks and formal vote of thanks. Over to you, Professor Toor.
Thank you, Radhika ji. Yeah, it's my pleasure to present a vote of thanks for the webinar on scope and relevance of industry-led public-private partnership for R&D in India, organized by DST Center for Policy Research at Punjab University. We are grateful to our Honorable Vice Chancellor, Professor Rajkumar ji, for sparing time and be present here for motivating us. So it's all because of your motivation and guidance that we are able to organize such useful and informative webinars and increasing the linkage between the industry and the institutes. We are thankful to you, sir, and always look forward for your inspiring words. We are proud to have our alumni as a keynote speaker, Professor Anuradha Ganesh, Director and Chief Technical Advisor, CTIPL, and Adjunct Professor, IIT Bombay, Mumbai. Ma'am, your talk was very, very interesting and knowledgeable, and we really enjoyed it. We agree with you that the research in the lab should be such that can be transferred to the technology. Any research without any application these days has no meaning. So it has to be transferred, but we have to do the pilot plant scale studies, and the small scale and large scale prototype has to be made before sending it to the industry. Thanks for guiding us that the work should be done on partnership basis rather than on business. It's going to help academicians if we work on both research and the risk factor along with the industry. Or in order, it has to be a mutual interest of the academicians and the industries. For Atmanirbhar Bharat industry must be taken as partners in research and technology development. We agree with you, ma'am, purely because this is only going to lead for the future of India. So basically, the academicians and the industries have to change their attitude for working for the betterment of the industry in India. I think that is a basic gap between the industry and academy, which has to be filled, and you have guided us in a very, very good manner and in a very simple and easy way that how we can manage it. And of course, because industry doesn't need us much, we need them for our future. So it is we who have to make that link, and your idea that we should have a industry day, that is marvelous. Yes, ma'am, I think, because when we will call them, we will have a talk with them. It's not that in the first meeting only we have to go for the profits or the products, but yes, mutually when we keep on meeting each other, we can have a linkage between us and the industry, which will going to help us. So I just want to inform you that in our department also we have industry-oriented corporate social responsibility projects. Our faculty is working on them, and we plan to have much more on that, because that is another way of having a linkage with the industry with the CSR projects. See? So we are really grateful to have you with us today, ma'am. In fact, I think this is the beginning of our relationship, and we would like to work under your guidance, for which we will be formally inviting to our department also to meet our faculty and guide them for this. I am very grateful for Professor Nirmala for introducing us to our alumni. Thank you, Professor Nirmala. I thank Professor Manu Sharma, Coordinator, DST Technology Enabling Center, Punjab University, Chandigarh, for informing about the technology development transfer in Punjab University and the related problems, how do we work on it. I thank all the dignitaries, colleagues and students on behalf of the organizing team who have spared time and attended this webinar, and I hope they must have enjoyed and really learned out of this talk. In the end, I would like to thank the organizing team under the guidance of Professor Nirmala, who have done so much efforts to make this webinar a success. Thank you very much. Thanks.
Yeah. Thank you, Doctor. From my side, I'd just like to thank Dr. Professor Anuradha. It was such you explained it in such a clear way, and it was very understandable. And I'm sure that the budding students, they will also understand how important it is to take forward their research and connect with the industry. And ma'am, we would surely, like Radhika said, we would like to connect with you and have some talks later when we'll take consent from you and your time. Thank you.
And thank you all so much. Thank you very much. I really enjoyed talking to you.